Hey crew, it's Pitt, and I am back with some more in the search for truth. We are once again diving into Agenda 47. We will be getting from Donald Trump's mouth what exactly he wants to do when he gets elected in November and takes office in January. What will the first steps be? What is his priorities? This is not some random think tank who has whatever motives they have. This is him telling you what he wants to do when he takes office. So let's dig in and get it from the horse's mouth. This is Donald Trump, Agenda 47, firing the radical Marxist prosecutors, destroying America. Let's get that bigger and transfer it over.
There is no more dire threat to the American way of life than the corruption and weaponization of our justice system. And
True.
it's happening all around us. If we cannot restore
It has been for a very long time, though.
the fair and impartial rule of law, we will not be a free country. As president, it will be my personal mission to restore the scales of justice in America. We will have fairness and equality under the law, and to that end, I will appoint U.S. attorneys who will be the polar opposite of the Soros district attorneys and others that are being appointed throughout the United States. Very unfair to our population, very unfair to our country. They will be the 100 most ferocious legal warriors against crime and communist corruption that this
Crime and communist corruption. I like the onomatopoeia there.
country has ever seen. As we completely overhaul the Federal Department of Justice and FBI, we will also launch sweeping civil rights investigations into Marxist local district attorneys. And that's what we have. They're Marxists
That's what I'm talking about. Let's investigate some people.
in many cases.
Because if you were injudiciously applying the law, then you should be investigated. You should be brought to trial and to account for doing that. So, like, that's not vengeance, that's doing the law.
By refusing to charge countless crimes, these Soros prosecutors
Bruh.
appear to be engaging in selective enforcement based on illegal racial discrimination. In Chicago, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and every other city where these maniacs have taken over, the DA's offices should face federal subpoenas of their staff, their emails, and their records to determine whether they have blatantly violated federal civil rights law.
And you know what's sad is he's saying this and they won't get rid of the evidence. I mean, not that they should, but not that they'll even try, though. Like, they're just going to let it go. They think they're going to get away with it.
As part of this effort, there should be a federal inquiry into the Soros prosecutor in Austin, Texas, who charged a veteran with murder for defending himself against a threat by a heavily armed member of a radical left mob. I will also order the Department of Justice to establish a task force on protecting the right to self-defense, which is under siege nationwide.
I am a firm believer in the right to self-defense.
In addition, we will have a complete investigation into the use of police state tactics by federal authorities to arrest conservatives and Christians. We will find out who ordered it, and we will hold them totally accountable. There is much more that we must do. We have to confront this radicalized law in schools. You take a look at what they've done to our schools, our beautiful schools. We have to reform the far-left bar associations and stop the purge of conservative lawyers from major law firms.
It is true.
I will do whatever it takes to save our legal system among the greatest achievements of Western civilization from the Marxist barbarians who seek to destroy it. And we will do that. We will save it. Thank you very much.
All right. So, the judicial system absolutely needs some reform. Not the least of the problems is the communist leanings of several of the members of the judiciary. Not the least of the problems is the fact that we now have a Supreme Court justice who cannot define a biological fact. She cannot define what a woman is, and that is a biological fact. A woman is an adult human female. It's really that simple. I don't know why it's that hard to acknowledge. And so we have a sitting justice on the Supreme Court of the United States of America who cannot state that simple fact. That is an enormous problem. That is a failure of the education system. We have an enormous problem looming. I don't know what the exact answer out of that is. I know where me and my house stands, and that's all I can know. So we absolutely need to clean house from anyone who holds communist leanings. There should be no communist in government. You are free to be stupid on your own time. You are not free to be ignorant on my dime. And so, be gone with you. We do no longer need your services. You're fired. That simple. Next up, let's dig in and see what's up with Agenda 47, President Trump's plan to dismantle the deep state and return power to the American people. Sounds like my kind of shit. Let's go.
Here's my plan to dismantle the deep state and reclaim our democracy from Washington corruption once and for all. And corruption it is. First, I will immediately reissue my 2020 executive order restoring the president's authority to remove rogue bureaucrats, and I will wield that power very aggressively. Second, we will clean out all of the corrupt actors in our national security and intelligence apparatus.
All's a really big word. I get the sentiment. I absolutely appreciate the effort, but all is a very big word.
And there are plenty of them. The departments and agencies that have been weaponized will be completely overhauled so that faceless bureaucrats will never again be able to target and persecute conservatives, Christians, or the left's political enemies, which they're doing now at a level that nobody can believe even possible.
That is true, but religious deciding things based upon a religion is a bad idea. If we are going against all religious persecutions, that's cool. If you single out a single religious persecution, that's bad. Now, I understand that he is appealing to a base here, but just want to point that out.
Third, we will totally reform FISA courts, which are so corrupt that the judges seemingly do not care when they are lied to in warrant applications.
Did they advise them on how to lie? We have evidence of that, to my understanding, released from what happened in 2016. That is insane to me, that the judge would advise you in how to lie to obtain a warrant. That seems like some kind of offense that should be punishable by some kind of a drastic punishment.
So many judges have seen so many applications that they know were wrong, or at least they must have known. They do nothing about it. They're lied to. Fourth, to expose the hoaxes and abuses of power that have been tearing our country apart, we will establish a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to declassify and publish all documents on deep state spying, censorship, and corruption. And there are plenty of them.
I'm going to tell you what I want to see, right? If you're establishing people to go back and look at things, right? Your number one appointment, in my opinion, should be to the appointment of the trademark office, the person in charge of the trademark office who gets to decide whether the secret trademarks and copyrights remain secret. We need somebody to look at that immediately. There are things contained therein that maybe we should have out in the open.
Fifth, we will launch a major crackdown on government leakers who collude with the fake news to deliberately weave false narratives and to subvert our government and our democracy.
Loose lips sink ships. We absolutely should stop leaks. I'm a damage control sailor. What's up?
When possible, we will press criminal charges.
Bet.
Sixth, we will make every
I'm all for ruining lives of people who choose to ruin their lives.
Inspector General's office independent and physically separated from the departments they oversee so they do not become the protectors of the deep state.
Bad.
Seventh, I will ask Congress to establish an independent auditing system to continually monitor our intelligence agencies to ensure they are not spying on our citizens or running disinformation campaigns against the American people, or that they are not spying on someone's campaign like they spied on my campaign.
Tell him, Don. Tell him.
Eighth,
I think what he should do is, instead of letting that heal up, that hole he got in his head there, I think he should gauge it out.
we will continue the effort.
Could you imagine if he gauged it out, what the reaction would be from the left if he gauged his ear? Like where the bullet hole was, been like, yeah, put a gauge in. Bruh.
Launched by the Trump administration to move parts of the sprawling federal bureaucracy to new locations
Solid gold.
outside the Washington swamp. Just as I moved the Bureau of Land Management to Colorado, as many as 100,000 government positions could be moved out, and I mean immediately, of Washington to places filled with patriots who love America. And
That is true. We should absolutely remove many of the concentrations of power and disperse them throughout the country so that they are not concentrated.
they really do love America. Ninth, I will work to ban federal bureaucrats from taking jobs at the companies they deal with and that they regulate. So they deal with these companies and they regulate these companies, and then they want to take jobs from these companies. Doesn't work that way.
Yep.
Such a public
Oh, what a coincidence. You just left Congress. I have this position open, paying $3 million a year, and all you do is sit on your thumb.
display cannot go on, and it's taking place all the time, like with Big Pharma. Finally, I will push a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on members of Congress. This is how I will shatter the deep state and restore government that is controlled by the people and for the people. Thank you very much.
All right, so that one we're going to have some serious disagreement upon because I have made the case many a time and I can make the case right now. Term limits limit good people. It is not the length of time that they are allowed to serve that is the problem. It is the electorate that allows them to serve that is the problem, and therefore the will of the people is being done. It is their will to be ignorant and to lead themselves into destruction, then go so fucking be it. We should not be imposing our will upon them so that we can remove useless pieces of crap. We should be such a shining beacon as the people who laud capitalism, as the people who empower pull yourself up by the bootstraps. We should be such a shining example of what it is to be successful that we actually inspire the other side, and not that we have to impose term limits upon them. I think term limits is a terrible idea. It does not allow the good ones to keep serving. Oh, well, you got here and you were 28 years old and you served 2 terms. Well, too bad, you're out now. It sucks. You haven't made your 40th birthday, but guess what? You no longer can serve your country here in this capacity. That's a terrible idea, right? Even if it's 12 years, right? It's still a terrible idea. If somebody is in the office and they are doing the thing, they are on top of the Constitution, they are fighting for their constituents, they are struggling to keep the budget balanced, they are out there fighting for us to do the things that we want them to do, then I want them to have the ability to do so. And I want us to be such a shining example on our side of how to do it correctly that the people on the other side are like, man, you ain't doing shit. And they change something about their lives. I don't even care if they join my side or not. As long as they are getting someone in the office who truly represents what they want them to do. But that's not the case, right? We have a ignorant electorate. We have a lazy electorate. We have people that don't even pay attention to who's on the ballot until the day they go. They have no clue about the stances. When they announced J.D. Vance, I went and looked him up. I had to see if I agreed with him. And I can definitely see myself with that man as a president. So I'm definitely okay with this ticket. We have to do better to show that the informed electorate is our safeguard. It's not some random number that we attach to how long you can serve. It's not age limits. It's not term limits. It is us saying, yo, you're not doing your job, you're out. It is opening up the ability for people who want to do the job and not get the job, right? the people who are being forced into it. Like, if you have firmly held beliefs that contradict with both of the parties, you're not even going to be able to be heard. And that's a problem. We need to figure out a way around that to get more voices involved, more strengths, more diversity involved in the process so that we have better options to choose from. I like Trump, right? In 2016, I did not. I registered Republican for the first time to vote against him in the primary in 2016. I wanted a Kasich Carson ticket. That was me. I'm middle of the road. I want the middle road people. But I am perfectly happy with almost everything he did. There are points of contention, right? Warp speed, big problem for me. I understand why, but it's still a problem for me. The bump stock ban, completely unconstitutional, absolutely ridiculous. I get the political pressure, but still I disagree. There's a lot of those. Nothing so big as the peace that broke out across the planet. Nothing so big as the production that we were bringing back here and my friends being able to go to work and make money. I love that. I loved when all of the people I know were able to get a job. I love that. I love that when they had paychecks and were buying recreational vehicles. I love that. It's not here now. Anyway, that's enough from me. Let's get back to him. Agenda 47 ended Biden's war on the suburbs that pushes the American dream farther from reach. Let's bigorize it and kick it around.
Joe Biden recently announced that he will require every state, county, city, and town to submit so-called equity plans to impose the left's Marxist housing agenda on your communities. This is not what we need.
Nope.
The Biden power grab will put radical and racist left-wing bureaucrats in charge of micromanaging the housing where you live. And nobody can be happy about that. I talked about it during my last campaign, and people understood it very well.
Like,
they will use the power of the federal...
I don't understand why there's a need. Like, where I'm at, we're in South Louisiana. People are always like, oh, racist, all racist. It's not that bad here. I'm in what was considered one of the most racist parishes that we have. And you don't see it. I am sure it's out there in the booger woods somewhere, but it's not embraced, right? In my little neighborhood right here, I have a little almost half-mile loop that I walk, right? It is a little U-shaped cul-de-sac neighborhood. We have probably 100 houses in here, and there are maybe 10 different ethnicities, right? There's all kinds of different people living here in the same little neighborhood. It's not upper class. It's not lower class. We're right on the very edges of lower class, but we're above it. We've got a house, and we've got all of the things that in it work. So we're right above the lower class, and everybody around me is about the same. Right? They got some people making more than us, and they got some people making a little less than us, but everybody around here is pretty equal. And we are quite diverse. There's all kinds of people around here. My neighbor 2 houses down this way is an African-American descent, and there's one across the street from her that's an African-American descent. We have a Sikh right down the road from there. There's an Indian guy right up here. Like, we have plenty of diversity. Why do we need some council telling us that our houses have to be more diverse? That is insane to me.
Federal government to abolish zoning for single-family homes, destroy your property values by building giant multi-family apartment complexes in the suburbs and even next to your house, and force your community to pay for low-income housing developments right next door. The woke left is waging full...
Now, I do believe we need some more affordable housing, and we need it to be better, right? The communist-style block housing that we built in the 80s for the projects was probably a bad idea. You get what you get at, like you get out what you put in. Maybe we should do a little bit better on those. But we do need places for people to live that are affordable, and it is not easy to find.
Scale war on the suburbs and their Marxist crusade is coming.
What's really crazy is we're buying our house, right? We have a mortgage, so it's not ours, but it's our house. It would cost more to rent this house than it does to buy it, by a significant amount, by like another third.
For your neighborhood, your tax dollars, your public safety, and your home. When I get back into the Oval Office, one of my first acts will be to repeal Joe Biden's radical left attack on the suburban lifestyle, just as I blew up Barack Obama's leftist housing monstrosity just a few years ago when I blew it up. The Biden war on the suburbs will be over, and it'll never happen again. That whole mess will never, ever happen again. We pray for our country. Thank you.
All right. I don't know that he got too much into the specifics of how exactly he's going to do that. We have a housing problem. That is an absolute truth. Most of that problem is caused by investment corporations that come in and buy up the property and then severely inflate it for profits. And if they are not selling it, then they're the ones renting it for another third markup. I understand needing to make money on your investment. I understand having investment properties. It's just, there's got to be some upward limit, right? Like BlackRock doesn't need to own a third of the housing in the United States. That's probably a bad idea. Maybe we should not allow that to happen, but you should be able to buy 3 or 4 and rent them out if you have the means and you're willing to take the risk. Right? Maybe even 100, maybe 200. How? I don't know how we set the limit on that. I don't know. But it is a problem. That is the reason why you can't buy a house. Interest rates, well, absolutely putting that in there. Absolutely. Interest rates make a big difference. The market being oversaturated in some places and undersaturated in other places and severely overpriced in many places all causes problems with that. But the reason why not most, but a good chunk of that happens is because of these investment corporations that have come in, and every time something hits the market, they snatch it up. They're willing to sit on it until they can get rid of it at a higher price with the markup. They're willing to do that. Right? That what's a couple $100, $1,000, $2,000 in taxes while they sit on it for a year or two until they get what they want for it. It's nothing to them. It is to us. It's a problem when you buy a house for $120,000 and then 3 years later it's valued at $250,000. Well, there's no real reason for that. Right? And that's an extreme example, but that is, look at California. This house that I'm sitting in here, it's decent. It's just under $200,000. We're on a decent sized lot in a very good school system with nice government and like all the amenities, right? So this isn't a terrible place, but this exact same thing in California is easily $500,000. For what? Did it cost more in wood? Did it cost more to build? Not significantly, not to that extent. So what's the deal? Investment. That's a problem. I understand the need for it. I really do. I'm a capitalist guy. I don't know where the line lays, but somewheres there is a line, and we have to find it. Anyway, next up, Agenda 47. Joe Biden has been a disaster for the economy, and I can agree. Well, let's dig in and see what's up.
Joe Biden has been a disaster for the economy. Between his massive tax hikes, his anti-energy crusade, and his trillions of dollars in wasteful spending, Biden caused the highest inflation in almost half a century.
That is true.
As a result, interest rates soared to crushing levels, and now we are seeing bank failures that nobody believed even possible just 2 years ago. Joe Biden is leading us toward a Great Depression. I've been saying it for a long time. There should be no bailouts, but we need to get this economy straightened out as fast as possible. We're headed down a very dangerous path. When I'm back in the White House, I will immediately unleash energy production, slash regulations like I did just 3 years ago, and repeal Biden's tax hikes to get inflation down as fast as possible, and it will go quickly, so that interest rates can get back under control. I built the greatest economy in the history of the world. In fact, I did it twice when you think about it, and now we will have to do it again. Thank you very much.
All right, let's talk about it. So, inflation is a problem. Creating currency from nothing is a problem, and we have created more currency in the last 3 years than we have in the last 250. Slight exaggeration, but not really. Like in the last 3 years, we have printed more currency than we ever have. And that is just simply true. And that is pulling it out of your butt. Like, that is not based on anything. Petrodollar is very, very speculative. It is not nearly as firm as gold. And I don't even want to say that, because when people start talking about the gold standard, they wind up with their ear pierced and worse. And so we have a problem with inflation. But the way inflation works is that we have printed all of this money, and now we need to increase the value of the things that we have the money for so that it can reduce the amount of what the value of the money is. That's a complicated way of saying that if you're buying a glass of water, right? And this is the only glass of water, then it is valuable. If nobody else can get this glass of water, this is priceless. But let's say it's $500, right? $500 for this glass of water. But if I've got 500 glasses of water, the value of this water goes down to 1. That's inflation. We have printed 500 glasses of water. The problem is that the water that we have only fills 1 glass for real. The rest of it is purely speculation. It is promising the future of our children and grandchildren to be able to pay a debt. It is taking out credit card loans on progeny that have not even been conceived of yet. Our children's grandchildren will still be paying this debt at current rates. That's the problem, right? The solution is increased production, right? Either you increase the interest rates and make it harder to attain the money so that the money again regains its value, because over time the amount of people and the growth in general will drive it down naturally. So you raise interest rates so people can borrow the money, and then the money becomes more valuable. Or you can increase the places in which that money is sunk into a net positive situation. What's that mean? If I take that money and I invest it in a timber company, and this is a brand new timber company, it's never existed before. Now there is new value in the economy. And some of that money is now attached to my value as a company owner. The more people that I can employ, the more money that I can pull out of that inflationary into a real value. Now, it's not based on my value. Money is an exchange for time, and there's a whole complicated talk that can go behind that. But the gist of it is that you're going to pay what the value is worth. And so if we can increase our manufacturing base with new businesses, new places to put the money so that it increases value in our economy, then we can bring the inflation back down while lowering rates. If that process doesn't happen, lowering rates alone is going to be catastrophic, right? I'm positive that Trump understands that when he's talking about increasing the manufacturing, right? Cutting the tax is to increase the manufacturing. I am more likely to start my timber company if the taxes are lower than I would be if they were higher. That is the point of trickle-down economics. Right? Everybody's like, well, these tax companies are getting breaks and it doesn't really trickle down. Yes, it does. They are more likely to go where the tax incentive is. If there was no tax incentive, they would not go there. They would find somewhere with a tax incentive. And so, by them employing people, they increase the tax base and they bring down the inflationary problem without having to raise the interest rates. And finally, we're going to dive into one more, Agenda 47. This is preventing World War III, and this is one that I am absolutely going to have something else to say. So let's dig in and see what's up.
We have never been closer to World War III than we are today under Joe Biden.
And here we are. This was put out a year and a half ago, and this is more true today than it was then. There are escalations with Iran as we speak.
A global conflict between nuclear-armed powers would mean death and destruction on a scale unmatched in human history. It would be nuclear Armageddon. Nothing is more important than avoiding that nightmare. We will avoid it, but we need new leadership. Every day this proxy battle in Ukraine continues, we risk global war.
This
we
was
must
before
be absolutely clear
Gaza.
that our objective is to immediately have a total cessation of hostilities. All shooting has to stop. This is the central issue. We need peace without delay. In addition, there must also be a complete commitment to dismantling the entire globalist neocon establishment that is perpetually dragging us into endless wars, pretending to fight for freedom and democracy abroad, while they turn us into a third world country and a third world dictatorship right here at home. The State Department, the defense bureaucracy, the intelligence services, and all of the rest need to be completely overhauled and reconstituted to fire the deep staters and put America first. We have to put America first. Finally, we have to finish the process we began under my administration of fundamentally reevaluating NATO's purpose and NATO's mission. Our foreign policy establishment keeps trying to pull the world into conflict with a nuclear-armed Russia based on the lie that Russia represents our greatest threat. But the greatest threat to Western civilization today is not Russia. It's probably, more than anything else, ourselves and some of the horrible USA-hating people that represent us. It's the abolition of our national borders. It's the failure to police our own cities. It's the destruction of the rule of law from within. It's the collapse of the nuclear family and fertility rates like nobody can believe is happening. It's the Marxists who would have...
They fertile, they just getting rid of them. We're killing more children every day than cancer.
...have us become a godless nation worshiping at the altar of race and gender and environment. And it's the globalist class that has made us totally dependent on China and other foreign countries that basically hate us. These globalists want to squander all of America's strength, blood, and treasure, chasing monsters and phantoms overseas while keeping us distracted from the havoc they're creating right here at home. These forces are doing more damage to America than Russia and China could ever have dreamed. Evicting this sick and corrupt establishment is the monumental task for the next president. And I am the only one who can do it. I'm the only one that can get the job done. I know exactly what has to be done.
All right. So, I love peace. It's one of my favorite things. I love my peace. I guard it fiercely. I love national peace, although I have not seen it in my lifetime. Not that I can remember anyway, right? We've been at war. I can remember. I can remember between the first Gulf War and the second one. I can remember going to the first Gulf War, as a matter of fact, just barely. I'm just barely there. But it has not been a significant part of our life in my lifetime. I would love to see that happen. I would love to see us quit killing people elsewhere. Now, part of that is going to play back into what we were just talking about, because part of our manufacturing, the reason why we are such a global superpower, is because we create weapons and the munitions that go along with them. We should. I'm not saying we shouldn't. I'm saying we should stop using them. Right? In every case that we possibly can. I am fine with making them. I'm okay with having them being equipped to use them. But I don't know that in my lifetime we have used them judiciously at all. I'm not sure of that at all. And I've been involved in 2 different conflicts. I was combat deployed twice. And so I'm not sure that either one of those was exactly judicious. I'm not. One of them was NATO supporting and one of them was not. We were minutes away from nuking Saddam Hussein. My ship was in the front. Like, we were the number one guys in front. And like they threw their missiles to us and we directed them on. I'm not saying that there's not a time for war. I'm not saying that there's not times when use of weapons is absolutely validated. I just think that we do it a little bit too freely. I don't think that the situation that he was discussing involves us. I don't think that we were meant to or should be involved at that at all, but it's not up to me. The situation that he's not aware of yet, because this was filmed a year and a half ago and October the 7th had not happened, that's not necessarily our fight either. Right? They can fight that fight, let them. Let them fight. The thing going on that he was aware of, we've talked about before, but like it's not what the news has told you it is. There was a clear goal going in, and that goal has been achieved, and that's where he's been sitting for a while. And so his intentions have been made through his actions. He went in, he did what he said he was going to do, and he's holding it. And he keeps getting attacked, so he has to attack back, and that's a whole vicious damn cycle. But I'm a fan of peace, so we shouldn't be involved in that. I don't think we should be sending munitions over there, even though they're about to expire and we have to get rid of them. And oddly enough, the same thing can be said for the other side's munitions and things that are getting destroyed. A lot of the infrastructure that's getting destroyed over there, that's older communist block style housing and stuff that probably is going to be replaced, probably by us. And so I'm not a fan of war. Innocent people are over there dying so that they can play out their machinations, so that they can continue to sell the munitions. I think that we would be better off if we were investing the money that we are sending over there into doing other things. Going exploring space, seeing about mining some asteroids. That would do a lot for our resource problems, wouldn't it? Now, we could be looking into refining materials in space so that we're not environmentally polluting anything, because it's a different environment. It's not going to affect our... Now, would that affect space in such a way that we'd be in a problem? That's a whole different argument to make. We should be focusing on feeding people across the planet. I think that would be a worthy goal. How about healthcare access to people? Water. How about if instead of Mr. Beast going and digging wells, we could do that? We could be the beacon of light. How about that? How about we be a global example of how capitalism can be turned towards the greater good? How we can ethically do capitalism, because it is possible, we just don't do it. Right? If you're making millions of dollars and the people underneath you are stuck on minimum wage with no benefits, then you're a shit human, and that's a you problem, right? We should fix that. The people in charge shouldn't have that problem. That's not necessarily something for the government to fix. That's something, again, for us as responsible citizens to take charge of, to ensure that the people who are doing the things are people who have the best interest of all in mind. That's not in a communist way. If your entire company is healthy, happy, growing, then you're going to be too. And it's okay if you're not getting $500,000 and you're only getting $4,000. That's going to be a good salary. It's going to be okay. Distribute a little bit more of your wealth to your company, not to the masses, to the people that you have taken charge of. You've accepted responsibility for these people. But you're okay with them staying on minimum wage or near minimum wage while you are in a pool, playing golf, doing whatever, while everybody else, like, Trump's not like that. I know you look at him and he's rich. Yeah, he's rich. But the people that work for him are taken care of. You can go and ask them. They will tell you. They have. There's video. He randomly walks around and hands out cash. They're paid well. They have benefits. They have retirement plans. He's actually doing the things that I talk about. Now, does he make more money than I would be comfortable with? Absolutely. I'm not comfortable with that style of living. I come from very humble beginnings. And I am okay with staying humble. I'm good with my little $200,000 house. I would like a little more. I'm not going to lie. It would be nice to have a little bit of acreage so that I could be responsible for a little bit more. But I don't need some vast estate, right? If I have acreage, I'm putting it to work. It's not going to be grass. You can bet your ass on that. that's where we're going to wrap this one up. Hopefully, I brought a little bit of enlightenment and not too much confusion, maybe even a little bit of levity, some serious conversations. These are things that we need to talk about, and we need to hear it from his mouth, what he wants to do. If we agree, it's okay to agree, and if we disagree, it is okay to disagree. If you like what I'm doing here, let me know down below. Give me a like, share, and a sub. Throw me a comment. If you don't like what I'm doing, hit me with a comment. Keep it respectful, and I'll let it stay up. If you really like what I'm doing, hit me with that super thanks. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you were here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. Until next time, I love you. God loves you. You are perfect, whole, and complete just the way that you are. And this has been Pitt's Tape. Peace.